Welcome back to NFL Nexus, your spot for the real deep dives into everything happening in the league. Today, oh man, we are cracking open the books on the Indianapolis Colts 2025 rookie class. We're talking the final report card. We're going to break down every single pick, from the guys who looked like superstars right away to the ones who, well, were major letdowns. We'll figure out what it all means for the future in Indy. And hey, if you want more explainers that get into this kind of detail, do me a favor, make sure you're subscribed to the channel and hit that like button. It really helps us out. All right, let's get to these grades.
It's a pretty deep question when you stop and think about it, right? Because that's really what a draft class is. It's a team making a huge bet on its own future. You're trying to find the pillars, the foundational pieces you can build a championship team around, not just for next season, but for the next 3, 4, maybe even 5 years. And for a team like the Colts, a team that feels like it's right there, right on the edge of being great, this draft class is absolutely critical. So today, we're going to see exactly how those bets from 2025 are starting to look.
So our guide for this whole breakdown is the final report card put together by the folks over at Yardbarker. They've gone through and meticulously analyzed all 8 of the Colts draft picks, grading every single one on how they played on the field, their overall impact on the team, and what their potential looks like going forward. We're going to dive into every one of those grades to give you the full, no punches pulled picture of this entire rookie class. So here's our game plan. We're going to start with the really good stuff, the immediate impact guys who just delivered from day one. Then we'll get into the tough luck stories, the injury incompletes, promising players whose seasons just got cut way too short. After that, we got to talk about the underwhelming performers, the guys who left us wanting a lot more. And then we'll wrap it all up with a final verdict on the whole class and what it really means for Indianapolis. All right, let's kick things off with the best-case scenarios, the stuff that makes general managers look like geniuses. You know, every team drafts players hoping they can step in and contribute right away. And let me tell you, the Colts absolutely found a couple of guys who did just that. These are the rookies who didn't just meet expectations, they totally shattered them and made it clear they're going to be cornerstones for a long time. So let's start with the absolute crown jewel of this class, the 14th overall pick, tight end Tyler Warren. And Yardbarker is not holding back here. A grand slam. I mean, that is just about the highest praise you can possibly give a rookie. It means he didn't just fill a need, he came in and fundamentally changed the entire offense from the second he stepped on the field. This is the kind of pick that gets GMs statues built for them.
Now, what's so wild about this slide is the history behind it. This isn't just a really good number. This is a legendary number for the Colts franchise. 76 receptions. To give you some context, that's more than Marvin Harrison had as a rookie. It's more than Reggie Wayne, more than the legendary Dallas Clark. Tyler Warren, in just his first year, set a brand new record for every Colts rookie who will ever come after him. That's a massive immediate stamp on the franchise's history books.
And these are the stats that absolutely back up that perfect A-plus grade. I mean, 817 yards and 5 touchdowns? That's incredible for any tight end, let alone a first-year guy. But the source really stresses his insane versatility, and this is the key. The offensive coordinator, Shane Steichen, used him all over the place, as a traditional tight end, split out wide, in the slot, even as a fullback. Think about the nightmares that creates for a defense. He's way too big for defensive backs, and he's way too fast for linebackers. This guy wasn't just a pass catcher. He was a complete offensive weapon. Getting a Pro Bowl nod in year 1, yeah, that says it all. It was a perfect rookie season. All right, let's move on to our next impact player, and this is a really fascinating story. We're talking about a 6th-round pick, quarterback Riley Leonard. Look, he was never supposed to play any meaningful snaps this year, but then injuries hit the starter, and suddenly he's thrust into the spotlight. And like the source says, he was tossed to the Wolves in the last game of the year against a scary good Houston Texans defense that was fighting for its playoff life. I mean, the stage was set for an absolute disaster. But that is not what happened. Yeah, okay, look at the turnovers. 3 of them. Those are the kind of rookie mistakes you totally expect in a high-pressure debut. You can't ignore them, but look at everything else. 270 passing yards, 3 total touchdowns against one of the best defensive units in the league. He didn't just survive out there, he made plays. He showed incredible toughness and kept the Colts in a nail-biter of a game that ended 38-30. He went toe-to-toe with them. And that's why this B-plus grade is just, it's perfect. It's a fantastic reflection of what happened. Yeah, the mistakes kept it from being an A, but the promise he showed under that kind of pressure, it was undeniable. Before that one game, nobody really knew what his future was. After that game, Yardbarker is totally confident Riley Leonard has locked down the QB2 job for the Colts. That is a gigantic win for a 6th-round pick.
Huge. Our last impact player is the fourth-round tackle, Jalen Travis. He was drafted to be a swing tackle, a versatile backup who could fill in on the left or right side of the offensive line. Well, when injuries inevitably hit the starters, he was thrown into the fire, and these Pro Football Focus grades show he was more than ready. Over more than 300 snaps, he was just incredibly solid and consistent. For anyone not familiar with PFF, any grade over 70 is considered quality starter-level play, and he cleared that mark in both pass protection and run blocking. That's not just good depth, that's a reliable starter in the making. And that's why he gets a solid B grade. He looked totally comfortable on either side of the line, which is just invaluable for a team. But here's the bigger picture, the real so what from the source. The starting right tackle, Braden Smith, is going into the last year of his contract, and it's looking unlikely he'll be back. Because of how well Travis played, all signs are now pointing to him being the guy to take over. He didn't just fill in for a few games, he may have solved a massive, multi-million-dollar problem for the Colts a year ahead of schedule. What an incredible return on a fourth-round pick. Hey, before we jump into the next section, I just wanted to mention a really cool way you can help support the channel. We actually created a series of NFL-themed coloring books. They're perfect for kids, grandkids, or hey, even for adults who just want a fun way to relax. It's a great way to share your love of the game with the next generation of fans. You can check them out by using the link down in the description or by scanning the QR code that's up on your screen right now. We'd really appreciate the support. Okay, let's get back to the report card. All right, now we have to pivot to a more unfortunate part of the report card. For any rookie class, injuries are just a brutal, unavoidable reality. These are the players who were showing some serious flashes, guys who looked like they were about to carve out a real role for themselves, only to have their seasons completely derailed before they could truly leave their mark. And what we have here are two almost identical stories of just awful luck. On the left, you've got the third-round cornerback, Justin Wally. The source points out that before he tore his ACL in practice, he was already taking reps with the first-team defense. That's a huge sign of trust from the coaches in a rookie. Then on the right, seventh-round safety Hunter Wohler was apparently looking dazzling in camp before he suffered a really nasty Liz Frank injury. That's torn ligaments in your foot, which ended his year. So why is C and not just an incomplete? It's because the promise they both showed was too significant to just ignore. They get knocked for the missed time, obviously, but those flashes give some real hope that they can be key contributors next season if they get healthy. All right, we've covered the hits, we've covered the what-ifs, now we gotta turn to the misses. This is the part of the draft class that was, frankly, just disappointing. These are the players who, for whatever reason, didn't live up to where they were drafted and now have a ton to prove heading into year two. And we are starting with the absolute lowest grade of the entire class, a straight-up F for the fifth-round running back DJ Giddens. And the source is blunt here. He was drafted to come in and give superstar Jonathan Taylor a breather, be a change of pace back, but he was a complete non-factor. He was supposed to be the clear number 2 running back, and he couldn't even get close to locking down that role. This table right here, this tells you the whole story. 26 carries for the whole season, a measly 3.7 yards a carry. He was barely on the field because, as the article makes very clear, the coaching staff had way more trust in the veteran Amer Abdullah. When your main job is to be the backup running back, and the team would rather give the ball to a veteran who's mostly a special teams player, that is a massive red flag. And that's why his future is so up in the air, and why this performance gets a failing grade. Now this one is arguably the single biggest disappointment of the entire class, especially when you think about how high he was drafted. We're talking about the 45th overall pick, defensive end JT Tuimoloau. The source highlights that the Colts had a critical need. They needed a pass rush, and their big-ticket rookie was just nowhere to be found and grossly underperformed. I mean, just look at these numbers over 13 games. 17 total tackles, only 1 tackle for a loss, just 6 quarterback hits. For a second-round edge rusher, that kind of production is it's incredibly low. The article does mention he had 14 pressures, which is a tiny glimmer of hope, but his overall impact was next to nothing. This is not the kind of production you expect from a top 50 pick who was drafted specifically to hunt quarterbacks. So he gets a D+, and honestly, it could have been an F, but I guess those few pressures saved him. But here is the absolutely crucial takeaway for his future. The Colts' top 3 defensive ends, Kwity Paye, Samson Ebukam, and Tyquan Lewis, are all about to be free agents. The team desperately needs Tuimoloau to take a gigantic leap forward in his second year. The pressure on this kid is just immense now. He has to become a starter, or this pick is going to look like a major bust and leave a massive hole on their defense. Okay, Real quick, before we get to our last player in this section, let's just do a quick definition of a key term here, the practice squad. Basically, you can think of it as a team's developmental roster. These guys practice with the team all week, they learn the plays, but they aren't on the main 53-man active roster. They usually don't play on game day unless they get called up because of an injury to a starter or something like that. And that brings us to our last guy, 6th-round defensive tackle Tim Smith, who spent pretty much his whole rookie year on that practice squad. He was drafted to be a depth piece behind the two stars, DeForest Buckner and Grover Stewart, but he just could never crack the game day lineup. The team consistently turned to other guys like Adetomiwa Adebayor and Neville Gallimore for those backup snaps instead. His future is described as cloudy, and that failure to even get on the field is why he ends up with the same D-plus grade as Tumalowo.
Okay, so we have gone through every single player. We've seen the Grand Slam, the promising backup QB, the solid lineman, the guys with injury questions, and the flat-out disappointments. Now it's time to put it all together, look at the 2025 Colts rookie class as one whole unit, and come to a final verdict. And here it is, the complete report card from Yardbarker all in one place. And man, it really is a story of extremes, isn't it? It is a totally polarized class. At the very top, you have an A+ in Tyler Warren, a legit, blue-chip, franchise-changing type of player. Then you have two very solid B-level grades in Riley Leonard and Jalen Travis, who both look like valuable guys for the long haul. But then you see the drop-off. 2 C- for guys with potential who got hurt. And then the bottom just completely falls out with 2 D+ and a straight F. It's an incredibly top-heavy class, almost completely carried by how good those top 3 guys were. So we end right back where we started. For the 2025 Colts, grading their future is, well, it's complicated. They absolutely found an A+ superstar in Warren, and 2 solid B-level starters in Leonard and Travis. I mean, that alone might make this a successful draft in the long run. But the rest of this class is just filled with massive question marks, from injuries to just straight-up bad performance. The ultimate success of this group, and maybe the Colts' entire next chapter, could really depend on whether those guys at the bottom of the report card can turn things around. So what's your final grade for this class? Let me know, chop it in the comments below. Thanks for watching NFL Nexus. We'll see you next time.